Today we're joined by Michael Ross, founder and CEO of Sleep.io, the first native Web3 hotel booking platform. Michael is a serial entrepreneur. He's transforming the way we travel in the future, merging blockchain technology and AI and real-world hospitality. His work has been very featured globally, including on the Web3 reality show Killer Whales. He's become a leading voice in decentralized travel innovation. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Michael, I'm really excited to have you here. We love having entrepreneurs who are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in travel and hospitality and retail, and I think you're doing exactly that with Sleep.io. So maybe just give us a little bit of color on your journey. How did you get here? How did Sleep.io start? Where did you get involved in travel?
Oh, I don't know. I think you said before we have around 20 minutes. If we do the full journey, probably we need 7 episodes, but I will try to keep it short. Personally active more than 15 years, I think, in the travel industry. Built my first venture a while ago. It was packaging, was flight hotel transfers, went okay in the Netherlands. Then built another hotel booking platform went well. But also I saw there's a lot of legacy. If you're looking at all the OTAs, they're just basically use the same legacy infrastructure. Then they all targeting the same users. Innovation not there. And the second thing is the payment methods, which actually they accepting, is really not really from nowadays, right? If you look at crypto payments, flexibility there was not adopted by the large OTAs. Like, look, if we're combining, I would say, superpower of blockchain, I was personally active since 2017. If you combine superpowers of blockchain and including there also, I would say, payment methods from nowadays, you can build something cool there and then, start cooking, as I say in Web3, start building and build a Sleep as where it is today.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds like a great journey. So let's maybe contextualize a little bit for the audience. So what are we talking about when we talk about Web3, and sort of what do we talk about when we're talking about Web3 bookings and Web3 travel?
Yeah, so if you're looking how normally it works, hotels distributing rooms through APIs, to indeed channel managers, PMS systems, to a hotel booking platform. You can see it still takes place overbookings, you can see outdated systems, caching, you can see rates are not updated. So I do believe if you're looking at Web3, what it can do, and of course we're using a few parts there, again, more and more can be on-chain, is that if on blockchain something is available or not, it's yes or no, it's like black and white, right? So if a room is available, it's available, or it's not available, it's not available. The same like indeed looking at pricing, looking at transparency. So by moving things onto chain, when, for example, the reservation can be owned by someone, like if you're owning an item on the blockchain, it's yours, right? If you're owning a booking on OTA, like Booking.com, basically it's owned by Booking, they controlling the pricing, they controlling the booking, and it could be still that you're arriving in the hotel and actually it's sold out or it's overbooked. So I do believe indeed that eventually when you move everything to on-chain, that the users look, I have my booking, it's owned by me, and actually I can't travel to a conference, but I know that Robert want to go to the same conference. I'm resetting my reservation to him. So you're creating much more flexibility. I think it's also what the new generation is expecting, in flexibility in decisions, in buying or services, any kind of service. So it starts a bit there. It's look, how can I'll say, tokenize, reservation. One step further is the way of payments, right? You can see indeed the crypto adoption is enormous. You see in some countries it's over than half of the population has crypto. You can see you see the wholly upcoming of stable coins. So if you have crypto, why are you not able to spend it, right? It's a cryptocurrency. It's a currency. So it's for me still crazy. Look, you own digital assets, you own a currency, you wouldn't like to spend it. And why not spend it on travel? So I think if you combine those two, I think you have a very cool, platform which using blockchain technology to improve the process. On the other hand, using, cryptocurrency to also be able to spend them.
Right, so it's sort of hitting on some of the pain points from both sides. So you're dealing with both sides. I think with Sleep.io, you're dealing with the hotels, or the properties themselves, and you're dealing with consumer pain points. So the consumer pain point, they may have crypto, they want easier ways to spend their assets they have, and they also may want to be able to own a little bit more as an asset some of the traditional things that they don't own, like room availability, maybe like flight seats, like all these kind of things that traditionally we don't have a lot of access to, and we feel like maybe if we did, then we could do a lot more with it. I mean, I was just at a conference in Slush in Helsinki, and people were sharing tickets, wanting to sort of sell tickets that they had extra. People were wanting to swap rooms and all sorts of things. So I
That's
definitely
massive. And indeed, in the
yeah.
travel event space, like, look, you can change plans, right? It happens, then you're changing plans. So, and if you then force indeed to not be able to sell it or to reuse it or in any kind of form, it's tough, right? So if you have the flexibility there, it does make sense. And the same thing, indeed, you create different way of loyalties when you just indeed, and well, talk about loyalty, probably you know more about loyalty than I do, but if you talk about loyalty of the way of gamification things in blockchain, it's much more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things you can do once you sort of, I guess, assetize something that wasn't not normally considered an asset. So I mean, maybe we should just go ahead and start talking about the user journey. So we kind of hinted on a little bit of that in your opening. So sort of walk us through a little bit like of the user journey now, and kind of maybe highlight a few of the elements that you've been working on or you think need some more work. So everything from like discovery to evaluation of where you want to go, what you want to book, on to post-stay and re-engagement.
Okay. Well, the journey is, I would say, you can start a normal search. This is not much differently than when you're searching on, I would say, a booking.com, give an example. And then actually we give the opportunity to users like, look, do you want to have we call it our Web3 rates? To get access to those rates, you just have to sign up. So you can connect your crypto wallet. You can connect it actually to the platform, and basically then you're a closed user. If you still like, look, I don't have a crypto wallet, or I prefer to use my social account or email, you can do, and we're creating a wallet for you. So we're giving an on-chain experience there. From that moment, you're in a closed environment, and also hotels, we can see they're willing to give better deals for you because they're not in public. We still have to deal virtually with rate parity clauses and issues from OTAs. As they look in public, you can't offer lower rates to another booking platform. So by indeed having a closed user group platform, hotels can give lower rates. Then you can make your search. I'll say indeed, I don't know, I will say a traditional way. You can search, you can filter, map view, list view, and find the right property for you. As soon as you want to make a reservation, you have the full flexibility how you want to pay, right? I think that's also important. As a user, you decide how and which money you're spending. So if you want to spend your crypto, you can do. We're supporting over 300 different cryptocurrencies. If you want to still use your Apple Pay, Google Pay credit card, yes, you can do as well. And if you want to say, look, I just actually travel in 7 months, actually, and my trip cost me €3,000, why do you have to pay everything up front? So if you want to say, look, I want to pay in 6 installments, also you can do. So I think the flexibility is important, which is, I would say, the flexibility in payments. So I would say it's up to the user how he wants to pay. And of course, a big part of our users paying with crypto, as we are quite, crypto focused. And then actually the reservation is technically is an NFT, which means if you make a reservation, it's tokenized. We don't have a secondary market on this stage. It could be that eventually that the whole trading or indeed reselling market, we could open it. There's no information about your stay stored in the NFT. I think this is very important because some people are concerned about, okay, if I make a reservation and you're creating an NFT, does people really see on-chain where I stay? No, there's no confidential information stored in the NFT. It's connected to our database. Where's all the information? Then you can go to the hotel and have a beautiful stay. What is very cool with every booking you make, you're also collecting points. Points can be used for future payments. So there's a lot of mechanism behind. So even though you're a business traveler, want to book it on our platform, you can still do. You're collecting points. You use it for business, for private travel, or as your user can use it. I think what is also very unique and what is very cool is that if you look at the giants, Booking, Expedia, they are really focusing, I would say, keyword buying, search engine way of growing. We have a more, I would say, they have a more user-centric approach, where I do believe that we want to have more like a community-centric approach. Where it's like, look, let's do it together. So what is very cool initiative, we have our NFT collection, people can own a city. So imagine, for example, Robert owns Vienna. I want to go to Vienna. I book on sleep.io Vienna. In that case, Robert is the owner, I'll say called the owner of the city, which means he gets rewarded for every reservation done actually in Vienna. So it's a very cool way of having people being part of a platform. And imagine you just own Vienna on booking.com, right? I think, Robert, you can retire, right? With all the reservations made there. So it is a very cool way of people getting part of a platform, become an ambassador, and give something back to people instead of endless spending on, I would say, on Web2 giants.
I love that. Actually, it reminds me, we thought about doing that ourselves with rewards, so with loyalty rewards in the beginning, having people own cities or countries in the beginning. We didn't get around to it because we maybe thought it was a little too complex for us. Like how do people sort of deal with complexity with regards to crypto payments and token payments? How is that now, and how has that changed over time? Is it getting easier for people?
I'll say it's getting easier. Is it still easy? No. I do believe like to get a huge mass adoption into crypto payments has to be easier, right? You see with Google Pay, Apple Pay, is click, click, works. You can see with crypto payments, scanning QR codes, some wallets don't provide always the full information, you still have to enter the amount. So is it always smooth? No. You see some movement if you're looking at, I would say, the larger exchanges, looking at Gate with GatePay, looking at Coinbase with Coinbase Commerce, OKX Pay, Binance Pay. So this, if you have one of those wallets, it is much easier. You scan the QR code and it's paid. So eventually you see that it becomes easier. Unfortunately, it's not like a standard yet, right? So the QR code of the exchanges is always different. So it is still not easy, even though you see like indeed like with Coinbase or maybe with Phantom Wallet or other wallets, you can sign up, you can create your wallet with your email address. So it becomes easier and easier when they do the custody for you. So I do believe, and like you see that probably Apple, you can see indeed that other, I'll say Web2 giants will adopt crypto, would have it connected to your social, to your bank account. Yes, then you see a mass adoption. So yes, I know we're early. You see, of course, then you're focusing on the early adapters. I do believe looking at especially stablecoin connected to your own bank where you could pay with it, then you can go to, I'll say, a bigger mass adoption.
And how would that influence your business? So let's say,
It should, it should
let's
influence
say,
well. Yeah.
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 So if people can pay in stable coins through Apple Pay or one of these gateways, how do you think that you would see like the uptick from your side?
It's, you can see what is interesting approach is where you see the I'll say the credit cards, the crypto credit cards, people topping up their crypto into their credit card and use their credit card for payments. People also know that indeed, if as soon you're sending your funds to a crypto wallet, everything is visible, right? The crypto, I remember the Visas, the Mastercards, they using this information, right? They have this information, and if you say, look, I just don't want everybody to know where I'm staying or where I'm going to spend my money on, then of course spend it directly, right? So I do believe that even though that the mass, I would say, it might be adopting and moving into crypto or into stable, looking still like how can I spend it directly instead of still using a third-party payment provider like indeed Apple Pay, Google Pay, or and I'll say a crypto credit card is important. And eventually we want to be flexible there. If somebody wants to use his card, fine. I do believe that direct payment with crypto, which is the cheapest way as well, right, does make sense. And that's why we also show to the user, if you want to pay with crypto, it's 2% less than if you want to pay with credit card. We charge the credit card fee, we have to pay. We just charge it to the user to let them realize, like, look, I'd say fiat payments with a card is more expensive.
What's the vendor reception been? So from the inventory, so
Yeah.
the hotels and whatnot.
We have, like, I would say, looking at the platform, we have over 1 million hotels. So if you're looking for a hotel, basically you can book almost every hotel all over the world. We're sourcing from hotels directly to third parties. For us, it's important, okay, we cover globally. From there, we keep optimizing, keep improving, right? And negotiating better rates, having more partners on board to make sure like we stay and we are very competitive. Look at pricing, we are very competitive. So feel free to use it, Robert. So we're very competitive if you're looking at our pricing, that for sure. And I think we outcompete in majority of cases the large giants, I'll say the bad guys in Web2. So the pricing is very strong and it's competitive. And I would say looking at let's don't go too much in pitching the product, but I would say looking at and the flexibility in payments, I'll say it also makes a lot of sense.
Well, we're talking about your product a little bit more in this cast because I think it's cutting edge and really frontier work. And so it's when we're talking about what's coming next and what is now, I think your product really demonstrates that. So let's talk also a little bit about this fractionalization. I'm really curious. So this idea you can fractionalize temporary ownership of a booking or whatnot. Explain how that works and what was your original idea and like how is that idea progressing as you touch more of the market?
Yeah. Well, looking at RWA reward assets, actually, like items can be tokenized, right? Can be from real estate, can be from whiskies. You can do as well with, for example, a hotel reservation. I do believe if you're looking, for example, or hotel inventory. If you're looking now how it's distributed, it's still quite a lot of legacy. It could be very interesting. You say, look, the hotel, as an example, has 100 rooms. Then actually you have 365 nights per year. So why are you not creating for every room night per room an NFT? In this NFT, you can store what kind of room it is, what is the indeed has the balcony, yes or not, etc. So all the information is stored in a room. Based on that one, you say, look, you basically buy the night, which is a tokenized part of the stay. You can always look into how if you have, for example, free NFTs in your wallet, maybe it applies some discounts or maybe it applied something extra. If you have 3 nights booked, but actually you just have to basically can only stay 2 nights because your plans changed, now you have to cancel the full reservation. Why not sell part, which is 1 night actually, to someone else, and the other 2 you keep? This is now technically not possible, and I do believe blockchain is possible. The other hand, if one NFT is just 1 night for 1 room, but you're able, for example, to arrive only 11 o'clock in the evening, probably you and me have as often when you have to do for business travel, the whole room is empty from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Maybe it will be very cool. It's like, look, why I not actually resell part of the night, part of the from 3 to 11 o'clock to someone else, right? Maybe for day use, if somebody need a quiet space for recording a podcast or for like having a meeting. So why not actually sell part of the night to someone else? So I think by fractionalizing a stay, could be the same with a flight ticket, right? I think indeed, like you always have your preferred seats, at least I have. So imagine, for example, you just have your seat and seat 1A is not available and I have 7B. You just, okay, this is not my preferred seat. I prefer to have a window seat, but ideally number A. It would be very cool, like if you look at a flight ticket, I make an offer. It's like, look, I actually want to have seat 1A. I make an offer of this seat and I pay $100 extra. Then the user can say, look, actually, no, this is not worth. I really want to pay 1A. Or he's like, no, actually, for me, I don't mind where I'm sitting. For me, I just have to go from A to B. I was lucky I get 1A, so actually I'll accept the offer. You get $100 extra, and the other one has a seat he prefers. So even having, doesn't matter if it's like a hotel reservation or having a flight ticket reservation, gives a lot of more flexibility and also maybe more revenue streams. Like even secondary revenue, you could include this, I'll say, part for the hotel, right? If you're reselling a hotel night and you give the 5% to the hotel, will be very interesting, or maybe the airline. So
Yeah, so
even though you're creating new
like
revenue streams as well.
Kind of like a kind of like secondaries market. Like, what are the key challenges from a user experience perspective to making that market work for customers? So you have to match supply and demand. And
Yeah.
so let's say I have my NFT for a 5-night stay, and I want to sell 3 nights of it. The hotel doesn't let me do that or refund it. I have to cancel and do all these kind of things. I could sell that in the open market, but how do I find the demand? How do I find another buyer?
I think it starts with, I would say, indeed, the vendors with the hotels, right? They have to be able to make a change, right? And it's still controlled by giants as well, looking at the GDSs. I think it starts there, be flexible there, and indeed you see some PMSs already start innovating there. I think for the user, I think we should not talk about blockchain or NFTs, right? I'm describing the technology behind. I think indeed, as if I tell my parents, like, okay, you can cancel the last night, and you have to tell them, but it's an NFT and they're out, right? So I would say and I think that's still what happens too much, and that's also, I think, what we learned. We talk about too much about the technology instead of talk about the solution, right? So I think if people say, look, I can just cancel, I just make a change. I change my reservation from 3 nights into 2 nights. Instead of like cancel, rebook, you just basically sell 1 night. It's fine, right? So I think we should not talk about the technology of blockchain who facilitating this one, first of all. And I think indeed the same with the offer of the flight ticket, like the technology behind might be blockchain to make it sure it goes well. There's no errors, and it's really, I'll say, indeed done well. It does make sense to do it on chain. But I think we should not speak to the users about blockchain technology by swapping seats.
Yeah, sure. Unless that's what they're really interested in. But if we're doing mass market things, they're usually not so interested in the technology behind it, but rather what it does for them to make their life better. So yeah, we obviously take the same approach. And so when Web3 was like very, it was hot and people were talking about it, businesses were saying, oh, what do we do with blockchain? And consumers like, oh my gosh, how do I take part in that? I don't understand. Then it kind of made sense to talk about the blockchain aspects of it, that this is tokenized. I remember when we were dealing with our rewards system, like tokenized rewards, like we thought in the beginning that would sound cool to businesses. But after a while, like any sort of new technology, it starts to lose its luster,
Yeah.
and people just are tired about hearing about it. And what they care about in the end is the user experience, what pains it's solving for them. So with rewards, we also don't talk about the blockchain or the AI parts behind it, although they're crucial for how the system actually operates and for the value that it delivers.
100% there. Maybe a nice addition there. When we talk about music, I would say that you listened to music before, then they were digitalizing music, right? And then we start talking, you and me, everyone, about MP3s, right? Download your MP3s and you had your MP3 player, and it was always a bit kind of gray area. You had indeed your, I would say, your peer-to-peer ways of getting your music. It's still a bit, I will say, I like it to compare it with blockchain and crypto. It's always a bit, crypto still has for some people a bit the image, okay, is it a scam? Is it real? You can see it's volatile. Is it the future? We saw at MP3s, it started like this as well. Like, okay, is this the way? It's illegal music. This is fair. Eventually, like now we're listening to music again. You're using Spotify, you're using other streaming services. You're not talking about listening to an MP3. You're listening to music again. And that the technology behind is MP3, you don't care. You just want to listen to music. And I think probably it will happen the same with travel. Like, okay, we just had our travel. We're talking, okay, how can we move travel maybe onto blockchain and how does it be tokenized? People don't talk about technology anymore soon. They just, indeed, it's like, look, you just have a hotel reservation, that the technology from APIs replaced to blockchain. It's just, I would say, just a fact. It's just something, which is the case, but you don't talk about it anymore. So I'll say now, of course, when crypto is involved in blockchain, it's still, people don't understand blockchain. Well, if I ask you, can you explain MP3 technology? Probably also you can't. But doesn't matter? No, you want to listen to music, right? You want to travel. So I do believe it's just a matter of time. Then people say, look, we're not talking about the technology anymore. It's just the solution.
Yeah. I totally 100% agree. All right, so we're coming to the end of the podcast. So we'll just ask a couple sort of more rapid fire questions to sort of get to the end and get your complete thoughts on the subject. So, like, what's the most undervalued Web3 idea in travel right now? Or conversely, the most overrated?
Well, I will say indeed what is still surprising me, like the crypto payments adoption is still like, it's built as a currency, right? Whereas ownership and adoption is still very limited. People still see crypto as trading, buying, selling crypto as a trading mechanism. So I do believe in this is, I would say, very, like, for me, surprising, but you can see it growing, that people start using crypto as a payment method, right? I think this is still like indeed undervalued. I think the whole stablecoin adoption and maybe digital euro, everything will help there for sure. I think what is very interesting, like what is people start talking about more and more, is, for example, is poly market. I think this is very, very interesting that people indeed, it's starting as it's a gamble, right? The other hand, I'll say call it prediction market. But this is very interesting because you can eventually make maybe business decisions. You can make indeed influence on things based on people's opinion. So if you see that indeed, like, okay, are people worried about a specific country over tariffs or what they're expecting? Are you expecting, for example, like some economic impact and everything? You can, as a company, might even say, look, I'm going to use this information to maybe change strategies, because we see the opinion of people. So I would say the whole prediction market, poly market started. I think this becomes very big, right? I think we talk about it now, and more people talking about this whole poly market, prediction market thing. But eventually, I think the gambling part, I think it results as well really into the opinions of people, which can really impact also business decisions. So I think that become very interesting how blockchain, in that case, built a platform for prediction market, but eventually can go into, I'll say, maybe even business decisions.
Excellent. So last quick question. So if you do think about technological advancement, I mean, you think about the performance of LLMs and agent-based systems, what's like one technological capability that doesn't quite get there yet that you're looking forward to, that would maybe be a big unlock for what you're doing?
I think it's the combination of AI and blockchain. So they're now too much separate from each other. You have blockchain technology, you have AI. And then I agree, like a few years ago, blockchain was super cool. Now AI is super cool, will stay for a while. I do believe that the real core advantages could be the combination, right? We were experimenting together with Coinbase in some agent where actually the user could make a search, he was connecting his wallet, and eventually could authorize his wallet to charge automatically. So I do believe when you go to maybe connected travel or indeed using agent to make your travel bookings, you actually give authorizations to your crypto wallet to charge for the stay or refund it or whatever. So you interact with an agent. The agent's like, look, book me my stay. I have to go on the 27th till 30 of November to Helsinki. Can you make the reservation for me? They know you're indeed, in that case, because of your crypto wallet and your experience, they know your personal preferences. They say, look, I'll take care of it. This is what I recommend. This is close. They know actually maybe based even of your agenda where you have to be. I recommend this one. He said, cool, fine, book for me. And it's confirmed, it's booked, it's taken from your wallet. When you're changing your plans, basically you said, look, actually my plans changed, cancelled for me. Bam, it's cancelled. It refunded to your wallet. So I would say and which is now quite difficult with credit cards or different payment methods. So I do believe the seamless integration of storing your personal information on chain more secure instead of sharing it with, I would say, the Googles or the Facebooks of this world. It's like, look, my information is maybe ZK, it's just only available for when I need it. And in that case, it's connected to indeed, so the crypto funds are there. And the second thing, the AI can help you making decisions there. So I do believe, like I would say, both, technologies are very important and impressive, but unfortunately don't see the match of those two too much. I know that you're doing this, we try to do it there, but it's still like, basically it's two superpowers, right? So not why use them together to build something very sustainable and I would say modern proof.
Totally agree. That's what we're working on as well. I think from our side, also the decentralized identity, super important.
For sure.
The overarching concept that we're very interested to track and we're also interested to contribute to from an open source perspective is end-to-end authentication. So for us, this is very important when you're talking about integrating agents and agent-to-agent communication and agents helping book hotel inventory on sleep.io. It's like that end-to-end authentication. It's not quite there yet, but
I agree. And indeed, having your digital ID in your wallet, which is only share the information what is needed for the hotel, right? Which might be your name, your date of birth, could be enough. They don't have to know all your details, but they need to know it because of verification. But if you know that this is the right source of information, which is your digital ID, you don't have to fill in those forms again, right? I think we're all tired when we're arriving to the hotel, fill in the forms with your information, give a copy of your passport. Come on, it's not needed, right? So I do believe indeed by having those things connected, I think we'll have less stress-free travel.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us, Michael Ross. Michael, building the future of travel today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Robert.